This video is brought to you by Sporlan, quality, integrity, and tradition.
Well, the last time I was here for an emergency service call, suction line was missing on this one. Cross our fingers that's not happening today. So the customer said this thing is making a loud noise, really loud, and it was scaring him. Oh, that sounds like a plastic bag. Well, oh yeah. There's a plastic bag stuck in the condenser fan blade. Well, at least it's not the end of the world. Okay, cool. Let's open this guy up. Hopefully it's just a simple pulling the bag out. Alright, so let's see if there's any real damage done to this. Oh wow, how in the heck did they even get this thing in here, man? It is wound up in here, for real. Good gosh. Oh wow, that is something special. Alright, so is there any long-term damage? I don't think so. Turn it on, make sure the bearings aren't going bad in the motor. I don't see any real damage. So, okay. They said it was working. He just said it was making a... Nope. Bearings are bad in the motor. Yeah, I threw it out of balance. Alright, well, he said it was working, but that it was making a loud noise. So the plastic bag was the noise, but yeah, it did ruin the motor, so we're going to have to get a new motor. I'll get the specs off of it. I think I'll be able to make it through the night. I'll take a current reading on it. But yeah, clearly there's something going on with that motor. All right, we're gonna go ahead and put a new blade on here and a new motor. And actually the cool thing is there's Heatcraft part numbers right there. Bam, bam. My supply house has them in stock. I'll pick up them in the morning and get back out here. But I think we're gonna make it through the night. Yeah, it's just some bearing noise in there. This thing can also be cleaned. We'll definitely do that. So it's shut down because there's a smart evaporator controller, so it pumped down. All right, it is the next day. I am back. I managed to get a motor, blade, and capacitor, so we're gonna go ahead and turn this guy off and get that changed out. The box is down to temperature. They haven't had any problems, so we should be good, but we'll change it out and see what else goes on. So really not too difficult. I just broke the zip ties free so we can get to the wires over here. I do have to say, I really dig this. I found this Klein multi-driver, and you can take it out and it's impact rated, and you got all your different things, so I could really get rid of most of the bits in my van. It's nice having a 1/2 inch for your drill. Bust that guy off, no problem. Pretty cool. All right, motor's identical, same thing, just a interlink part, so we're just going to swap it out. The wires and everything will match right up because it's an OEM replacement, no big deal. The condenser is nice and clean. I can see light through it, so we're good on that. So this isn't too bad at all. Always pay attention to the current and the information off of the normal motor. Make sure that way when we put it in, we can amp it and make sure everything's good to go. So this one's allowed to run 2.7 amps. So when you're installing the motors, what I typically do in this situation is I installed the blade loose. It's still just finger tight. That way I can set the depth in the shroud the way that I want it. The next thing is install the motor label, if possible, upright. So the previous one wasn't upright, so it was a little difficult to see, just for the next guy. Electrical, be smart about it. Now they don't really have conduit over here, but I installed the electrical so that way I can zip tie it back down to the ground where they had their original zip ties. So I got it all installed on the other side, got it all zip tied down, and I'm coming over here and I'm just cleaning up the wiring over here, trying to make it look a little bit neater, secured, zip tied in. I'm gonna shorten some wires because they're a little long, like this one right here. But looking down here again, you pay attention, man. Look at this. There's a broken wire right there. And that would have been a potential intermittent electrical short maybe. So we'll definitely clean that up and make it look pretty. Picked up some really nice, I've bought in heat shrink butt splices before, but I don't know the brand, but these ones are super nice. I got them from like a local hardware store. Let's see if it says anything on there. It doesn't really say what brand they are, but they turn out really nice and they shrink down really well. Super cool. So gotta let them cool. And then we're just kind of cleaning it up a little bit more. So have a look. See, it's hard for you guys to see, but I just was finishing up all the zip ties and everything, and this contactor is smoked in there. I just happened to see like there was a bunch of white crap in there. Yeah, it's gonna be hard for you guys to see until I pull it out, but I seen all this and it made me investigate. Yeah, that it's totally smoked in there, all blacked out and burnt. So my van is a bit of a mess. It's not as organized as I'd like it to be, but contactors are right here. Let's see what we got here. We need 208 3-phase with lugs. So that's a 208 with screws. 208 3-phase with lugs. It's a 40 amp. That'll be plenty big enough. I usually carry 40s instead of 30s. Looks like everything else is, yeah, it's the same. Cool. All right, let's go slap this guy in. All right, got this guy back together, cleaned up as best as possible. You know, it's not perfect. It is what it is, but kind of cleaned it up. We can fire this up. I hooked everything back up the way that it was, but we still got to make sure the compressor's running in the right direction, and let's hope it doesn't blow up in my face. Okay, now it is going to turn off because the evaporators, I'm sure, are going to pump down. They're probably in an error message, so we'll wait and see, because they are smart evaporators, and we'll go in and look at them in a minute. But this guy is running in the right direction, no crazy vibration. Let's power down one time just to make sure. It's hard with the camera to see if it's actually going in the right direction. And it is. That's correct. So we're good on that. Everything looks good. Turn it back on. We'll take a current on the motor and see what it's running. All right, we're allowed to run 2.7 amps and we're running 2.2. So we're good on current draw on the motor. Everything's good. The unit is back and running, so I'm going to start assembling it, and then we'll go in and check on the evaporator too. I'm waiting for the walk-in to come down a temp. I quickly pulled this contactor apart. So remember, I changed it because I saw, or I dug into it because I saw that white powder residue, whatever that is, and it drove me to look at those points. Look at how burnt they are. Look at how bad that is. So it's all about thinking big picture. Eliminate some headaches, save the customer a future service call for sure. All right, it's nice and cold in here. Equipment's running. It does show 2 active alarms on the Intelligent. I can guarantee those were the alarms for me shutting it off for so long. This one will have the same, but everything's working. The temp in here barely even came up, so all is well. But yeah, we're good to go.
This was a long night. This was actually about 2-3 months ago, but I remember because I had a walk-in freezer call before this, and it was like a 4-hour call. That was in the evening too, and by the time I got done with that, I had to drive all over the place to get all the parts for that walk-in freezer repair. Then I still had this call to go to, so I probably rolled up to this call about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, something like that. And I didn't know what I was walking into. And I was a little bit worried because this location has a history of things getting stolen, the copper and different things. It's happened many, many times because it's just in a bad area. Luckily, it wasn't that, okay? But the previous times, like I said in the video, someone had stole all the copper lines for the walk-in freezer, and that was a late night trying to get that thing up and running. But so the manager, called me because they heard a noise and they were really concerned about it. And I had, when they called me a couple hours previous, I said, just go outside and shut off the disconnect switch. So when I walked up and it being off, that was because I had asked the manager just to go ahead and shut it off. I didn't want it to create more damage because I didn't know exactly what it was. So when I got there, of course, it was just a plastic bag stuck in the fan blade, inside there. But we don't just stop there. We don't just rip out the plastic bag, turn it on, and walk away. Even though I didn't want to be there, it was late at night, we're still going to take a step back and look at the big picture like I'm always talking about, right? And after I let it run for a few minutes, you guys heard as I was talking to the camera, all of a sudden the bearing noise came out. The bearings were going bad in the motor, okay? Luckily, I was able to get them through the night, just getting the bag out of there, and it ran through the night, and then we came back out the next day. I really appreciate the fact that Heatcraft puts those or the part number tags on the fan blade and fan motor. Now, I could have found the information, right? But it just saved me that much time because I just looked on the supply house, particular supply house that I went to. They have a mobile app. I looked on the mobile app. Boom, found the part numbers, said they had them in stock. So I was at the supply house first thing in the morning to pick up the parts, okay? Came back out, and again, we don't just stop with the motor and the blade. We put those in, and then we evaluate the system. We're going through everything, and I find a potential electrical short, right? The jacket had broken on one of the wires, and it could have rubbed out. Now, it didn't, but I saved the customer a potential service call because I was looking and listening, using my senses, okay? It's so important. I preach this so much. Please do not wear headphones when you are working. I don't care if you're doing a preventative maintenance or anything like that, okay? Now, I totally understand if you have to wear some sort of hearing protection because you're working in motor rooms or you're, I mean, there's certain circumstances that you need to protect yourself. But your senses are one of your best tools, if not the best tool that you have as a technician, right? If you have a troubleshooting kind of mind, right, and you can methodically go through things, your senses, your smell, your sight, the sounds that you hear, the feelings that you get, touching things and different stuff like that really helps you to troubleshoot. So in this situation, I decided to start cleaning up some of the wiring because I wasn't a fan of it. And I noticed that, the wire had a broken jacket. I was able to cut that back and repair it. Boom. But then while I was in there just kind of cleaning up the wires, I noticed that the compressor contactor was really burnt, okay? Now, it was still working. And yes, it probably could have gotten another week, maybe, or maybe it only got another day. We don't know. Okay. But we bring all this information to the customer, and I went ahead and changed the contactor, right, before it became a problem. Now, I know there's people out there that tell me, I changed too many contactors. Contactors are a very low cost part, especially on 3-phase, that can cause massive damage. You can ruin a compressor if you single phase a contactor on a 3-phase system, okay? You can ruin a compressor that can turn out to be, who knows? I mean, anywhere from a 4,000 job to the sky's the limit, depending on the size of the compressor, all because a contactor failed, right? So change them when they are going bad. You have to learn the signs though, right? And it's normal to see some wear in a compressor contactor, but I can't stress this enough. When you're working on 3-phase equipment, don't play games when it comes to contactors, because a contactor is good until it's not. And then it's bad, right? If you're lucky, it doesn't pull in. But if you're unlucky, it single phases and it ruins a compressor. So change them when they're going bad. Okay, so I was able to change the contactor, the condenser fan motor, the blade, the capacitor, and I was able to repair that wire. And this system is back up and running, has been running for a couple months now, and all is well. The entire time also I'm communicating with the customer, okay, letting them know what I'm finding, building trust with the customer, okay? Be honest with the customer. I'm not here to make a quick buck, okay? I don't want to make a quick buck. I want to work for this particular customer at this particular location for the next 20 plus years, okay? I want to continue to work for them. And in order for that to even be a possibility, requires honesty on my part, integrity, and a relationship between myself and the customer, okay? So be kind to one another. I really appreciate you guys. It's so humbling to get all the support from you guys. Thank you so very much. Check out my website, hvacrvideos.com. We have merchandise available on there. Down in the show notes of this video, there's several different methods of ways that you can support the channel if you're interested in doing so. Again, I really appreciate you, and we will catch you on the next one, okay?